Yeah, I am a smart mouth. How'd you think I wound up where I am, who I am by now? Just another minute till we sisters sign off. So if you're not winning, wave bye bye bye. Babe, I got a third eye. I don't do receipts, I'm a witch, fill me up for my switch. I'm a devil in disguise. Got 'em hypnotized. They don't even know who he is. They're in with the vibes, their life lifetime. Looking to control this. Happy up, happy up.
Welcome to the first pyramid in Egypt, the Step Pyramid of Saqqara, the Pyramid of Djoser, built by the grand architect Imhotep, who is a polymath of mathematics, astrology, architecture, and the king of scribes, the one who comes in peace. Imhotep was deified thousands of years after his death as a god, one of the few non-royal Egyptian people to be deified. He is legend to be son of Ptah, to work sorcery and magic. Many have connected Imhotep with the god Thoth, also the Greeks Hermes Trismegistus, and the Romans Mercury. A person of a grand wealth of knowledge, not only to build structures as this, but also to better themselves, build the human structure, the character structure. And then maybe God will bless you and your artwork to God, your creations for God will look like this. I saw you walking by it, so you don't want to miss that. It's King Djoser leaning back facing Polaris.
You saved that.
Yeah. Just saw some tourists walking by what I was going to describe to you behind me, which is a statue of Djoser, which he's angled back. You see behind me, there's two holes, and you can see him in there, and he's facing back, facing the Polaris star. Now, why was Polaris important to the Egyptians? Well, because the Polaris star was one of the stars that didn't fall down below the horizon belt. So the Egyptians in the Old Kingdoms symbolized the star as eternal life. It never died. It never went below the horizon, right? To rise again. It stayed there. The Polaris star, also known as the North Star. So yeah, I saw some tourists walking by it and they kind of looked at it weird and kept walking. I said, no, look in there. And look in there, and then you'll see King Djoser angled back. And for thousands of years at night, he's been staring at the same star, the North Star, Polaris. During the New Kingdom, it's kind of when they switched over to the sun, Ra. Amun-Ra started worshiping the sun. But for Old Kingdom, and obviously for Djoser, the Polaris star was very important, the North Star, which sat there, never went below the horizon line, never died and was reborn. I think personally that this vision of death and resurrection came from the stars. Some stars going down below the horizon and then coming back up. You'll always find these kind of stories intertangled in different religions and different stories, which kind of goes to my whole idea of a source religion. That there was a source religion, just like a trunk of a tree, that branched off into Christianity, Gnosticism, Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, you name it. I always feel like there's a source religion. I also have a kind of a parallel theory that's kind of similar, is that we all have the answers within ourselves. And so that many people who meditate and practice a spiritual life, maybe that's through diet, through meditation, through just being a good person, can access the same answers that people like Buddha, Jesus, maybe even Imhotep have accessed themselves. Some say the two holes they see here, one was for, let's remember that the statues in the Egyptian time were really believed to be the god. The spirit of the god could be in that statue for, offerings and ritual. But the two holes here, one was believed for him to go out into Polaris, and one to come back in from Polaris to revisit his statue, his Ka. So again, not to repeat myself, but we see the Step Pyramid behind me. That was built by the architect Imhotep, the brilliant architect. And I'm going to turn, and now you see a pile of rubble behind me. This pyramid was actually built after the Step Pyramid by a different architect. And as you can see, it's crumbling. Its weight's falling on top of each other. It literally just looks like a pile of rocks. Maybe 50 years, 100 years after this one, maybe 20 years. But I need to say that this failed. So probably Imhotep didn't pass on the knowledge to that architect and kept it secret. And it makes me think about mystery schools, Islam Sufis, Christian Freemasons, the Kabbalah for Judaism. Maybe passing this knowledge was not only magical, or maybe not even magical at all, but also to keep your king and your pharaoh and your knowledge secret. So maybe you could charge more, be protected, and make sure that the right people have this esoteric knowledge. The Step Pyramid of here, the Pyramid of Djoser in Saqqara, you see the 6 levels built by Imhotep, was a catalyst for the pyramids in Giza, which had the smooth sides. This was built about 2,700 years BC, 2,650 BC, where the pyramids of Giza were built about 100 years after this. Not only was this the first pyramid of Egypt that we know of, this was also the first colossal stone structure built in Egypt. This would be the blueprint for the rest of the pyramids in the future. The Step Pyramid standing 205 feet tall with a base of 397 feet by 358 feet, facing north to south, east to west. Just below me is the entrance to the pyramid, where probably his sarcophagus, King Djoser's sarcophagus, was taken. Unfortunately, it's been closed to tourists for a while now, but there is a back entrance that was made to kind of see where his actually sarcophagus was. So let's go visit that now. Now we're headed to the south side entrance, the other entrance, because the north side, the main entrance, was blocked. So now through the south entrance, we're going to go down to actually see Djoser's tomb, which is pretty massive, if you ask me, the amount of rock they have around it. So let's enter under all this limestone and go see Djoser and see if we can wake him up.
استنى نشوف لك اياه ولا لا. ايوه
ماشي.
عرفتي؟
حاضر اشوف كده.
الله يبارك لك. يس
Now we're headed down under the Step Pyramid. Now we entered the south side, which is not the original. The north side is the original, where in ancient Egyptian times, Old Kingdom, they would have put the sarcophagus in that way. But let's keep going. Now entering that tunnel, you come here, which the tunnel then goes deep, deep down. And that's where King Djoser's sarcophagus and body laid. On 4 corners, there's doorways. I think there's tunnels that go even deeper that we can't get to. But I'll say the stone around his sarcophagus or his body is absolutely, absolutely large.
And if you look to this wood, actually this is an original one. The Egyptian put it to support the...
That's original wood.
Yes, this
Wow.
is an original one.
That's crazy.
It's adjoined with the stones, so that's why we are sure that this is the original one.
That's crazy. So there's probably a lot of wood in here that we don't know about, right?
这个样子压这个石头压着的，你发现？哇，那它怎么往下放呀？它们？哦，对， 他们不是从这里进的，他们会有专门。
So when you were younger and this was closed?
Yes, this was closed when I was younger, so I couldn't be there.
Because they have like these, you know what's crazy? It's like
This is actually all these are modern ones.
These are
Just a
modern.
board, yeah.
Oh,
Just a board.
okay.
And the ground too.
Because it's funny, like when you see, this is how they believe, the size they believed it used to be.
Yeah.
And then you see like, this. It's interesting.
The transition between the modern and the old one.
Imhotep was an expert Freemason, understanding stones. 3,000 years after his death, Egyptians started to deify him as a god, which is special because he was not a part of the royal family, although there are rumors that he was the son of god Ptah. Also, some say he came from Central Africa, believed to be black in color. No documents from Imhotep's time mentions him. There's a few short inscriptions that do, but most of it comes from 1,000 to 2,000 years later. So his knowledge seems to be only spoken from mouth to ear, not written down, to keep the secrets of the pyramids and how to build with stone. You'll see some of the successors, like the pyramid behind me, that came after, crumbling in rubble, but yet Imhotep's creation, the Step Pyramid, still stands strong. Djoser picked the right architect. Many of my esoteric followers know that there were mystery schools in Egypt. You don't hear much about the mystery schools in Egypt because they're a mystery, possibly, or maybe because they never existed. Even rumors that Jesus of his time came down to be initiated into the mysteries. This is possibly why there is no documentation from Imhotep's time, because he kept this secret. Even Pythagoras was known to wait years and years and years to come from Greece to Egypt to learn from the Egyptian greats, and then going back years later to create the Pythagoras mystery school that we still don't know a lot about either. Imhotep possibly created a mystery school where he taught everyone, the first university, which then, after his death, continued, and the Greeks took from it their knowledge to spread into Europe. Some equate Imhotep with the wisdom text, which is the text of the way of living, how to live a better life. Funny, to live a better life was very important to them, how to be a good person, but also how to be a good builder. For if God blesses you, maybe he'll bless your creation, to be in line with God, just like alchemy. Before the Step Pyramids, kings would be buried in mastabas, which was basically a flat roofed with angled sides. So Imhotep, one to outdo the previous kings, built 6 of those mastabas on top of each other, 4-sided with 6 levels going up. Let's talk King Djoser. Has a D-J-O-S-E-R, something like that, but pronounced Djoser. He was the first or second king of the 3rd dynasty of Egypt, of the Old Kingdom. This dates around 4,600 years ago, around 2,600 BC. Djoser probably ruled around 19 to 38 years, depending how you read the inscriptions or read the text. He did a lot in that time frame, even if it is 38 years. I mean, building what will be the monuments of the pyramids in the future by hiring Imhotep, working with Imhotep. Djoser is a name that they give him from the New Kingdom, even though he ruled during the Old Kingdom. So about 1,500 years later, they gave him the name Djoser. But he's known as, in his inscriptions, by his Horus name, Horus being the god. A lot of kings put Horus in front of their name. Some use Set, most use Horus. But his name was, I'm going to try to read this, Nekjereket. That's N-E-T-J-E-R-I-K-H-E-T. So 1,500 years later, they called him Djoser. But his Horus name, Nekjereket. Now we're coming to the northwest corner of the pyramid. As you can see, there's a lot of foundations, there's a lot of buildings surrounding it. It wasn't just a pyramid, a lot like King Solomon's temple. It was a pavilion. There's this huge kind of fence around, there's all these little rooms. Apparently in the front is where King Djoser would fight the bull to prove his strength, to prove that he's man enough to be king. And they would have these huge festivals around here. So it's not just the pyramid, but there's a pavilion around, although a lot of it's been hard to find and kind of lost to time. As I mentioned earlier, we're on the south side, headed towards the south side, probably the front, I would assume, not 100% sure on that, and head to this huge square where King Djoser would fight the bull and have these festivities. I'm pretty sure it was used, Kings after Djoser was also probably used this, but there's a huge festival in this square where they would fight the bull, prove their manhood. They would have to run around. At least that's what my tour guide told me when I was here a few days ago. I would like to see the leaders of the world do that. Maybe Biden could run around this and prove that he's fit to be president. Or maybe the American elections are coming up, so maybe all the presidents running would have to fight the bull to run around and prove that they should be the United States of America's president. You know, I'm putting my money on RFK Jr. He seems pretty fit. Now I just want to show you these stones on the base here, the first level above ground, I should say. They're big, don't get me wrong, they're big, but nothing like the pyramids of Giza. Still pretty impressive, just around 205 feet. It was really impressive for its time, and yeah, I think the most impressive thing is that it set the pace for the future, for 100 years later, pyramids to be built in Giza.
Wait, do you work on top? Do you not work? Why
Yeah,
not?
exactly.
Hey, yeah, it's so good.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, that's cool, dude. I love. I mean, like, I don't get super crazy about it, but like, if there's something on TV or something I can watch, I'm always just like super interested.
Well, it helps to see with your own eyes and then talk to people around as opposed to just watching on TV sometimes.
It's so cool, dude. Yesterday I was on like, I don't think I.
So just had a very interesting conversation. Ran into an American on the bottom, and he's into the same stuff I'm into, so we connected. So David, good talking to you. Hope to see you on the channel. Hope you subscribe. I'll subscribe to your stuff too. But we just talked about a lot of the similar stuff, and he had a lot of expertise with the military in the Middle East. And sometimes it's hard with the Egyptologists here. The tour guides are pretty set in their ways, which is understandable. But I love new ideas, open ideas. But one thing I want to say, speaking of open ideas, is King Djoser's sarcophagus just clicked while I was talking to this guy David, is that the size of it is almost the same as the Serapeum video here or here. The Serapeum of Saqqara, they're so massive, but his is massive. Although his is multi-stoned, the Serapeum is one set of hard stone, which is difficult in itself. But I thought, they said it's for a bowl, but his is the same size, gigantic. So anyways, that's it for the Step Pyramid of Saqqara. Thank you for joining, Mush Monkeys, and I've had a great time here. It was a very relaxing day. The weather wasn't too bad like last time. It's my second time here. So facing the North Star, the Polaris, I think is the most interesting thing about this, and also the Imhotep, the architect. Although his story is, a lot of it's forgotten to history, probably more mouth to ear, as opposed to being written down, because he was like, the oracle of scribes, but the chancellor of scribes, I should say. But a lot of his stuff wasn't written down, so I think that was done intentionally to keep the mystery alive. But Jay from the Step Pyramid of Saqqara, channeling the spirit of Imhotep and King Djoser. Thank you again. We'll see you on the next video.
Thank you.